All right, guys, so our first guest on our Under the Radar segment, we're super excited about Eli Lesser, host of This Week in MLS, one of my favorite follows on Instagram. Super excited to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to show a little light towards American soccer and the MLS in general. Definitely doesn't get enough love. We got two Revs fans here hosting the show. So, lot of love towards the Revs and the MLS. And, just to start, could you talk about your page a little bit?
Yeah, so I started my page back in 2015. My content has evolved over time. I started off just as, I don't know if you guys know All Sports News on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do those white posts with the picture in the middle and text on the top and bottom. That's how I started off because I wanted to mimic that, but just MLS. But then over time, I realized, I got to do something a bit different than this. I started to post rumors. I started to do like a bunch of top 10 lists and stuff. But then I realized I've always wanted to be a sports broadcaster, sports host, and making graphics that I don't really like to make and I'm not really good at making isn't really what I want to do with my time. So over the summer, I started making videos for This Week in MLS full time, and that's what I've been doing for the past 8 or so months, 3-4 videos a week, all filmed and edited by me, and I love every second of it.
That's awesome. So you started the page in 2015 just kind of as a this thing you didn't know it was going to take off like this. I mean, now it's at this page with almost 50,000 followers. I mean, when did it really start to blow up for you, and when did you realize that this might be something that you can really make a career out of?
It was definitely around 2018 for sure, when players started to follow me and started to notice me. One in particular that kind of launched me a little bit was Mark Anthony K of LAFC.
That's awesome.
It was LAFC's first season. He kind of came out of nowhere. I was kind of sort of coming out of nowhere, and I just kind of built a connection with him. He actually gave me tickets to an LAFC match and to meet him with one of the family passes. And I met him then, and he gave me a big shout out, and that's kind of what really sprung the large massive following at first. But then I just continued to grow off that, and yeah.
That's so awesome to have a connection with someone like Mark.
Yeah, that's
incredible, especially in their inaugural season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to say I'm an LAFC fan or anything. I'm definitely remaining neutral. I am from LA. I'm neutral between the sides, between every team in the league except for San Jose. I like to crap on San Jose.
Well, being from LA, you have to a little, right?
Yeah. And they outed me a couple months ago on Twitter. When they made the playoffs, they outed me on TikTok. Sorry. I tweeted saying this team just doesn't have it about San Jose a while back. And when they made the playoffs, they posted my tweet on a TikTok and threw it in the trash.
That's awesome.
I got the last laugh, though, when they got eliminated on PKs when they didn't make a single PK. I kind of clapped back then, and I was like, yeah, called it.
Regardless of the back and forth, I mean, that's got to feel good. You must have known at that point, hey, I've got some pretty good acknowledgement here. Teams clapping back, and they
press is bad press.
Yeah, that was the first time I've been outed by a team or anything, so I didn't really know how to react. I was like, stay calm, just wait for my moment to strike. And I mean, you can't go into a penalty shootout and miss all three. That is hot garbage. I mean, the Portland versus FC Dallas one, no one missed, and it went to the whatever round it was. It almost went to the goalkeepers. But to go 0 for 3, oh my God!
No excuse.
I'm gonna enjoy this one for a while.
So building off that a little bit, I mean, how did your love of MLS start? Why did you pick American soccer as your sport? I mean, you're a sophomore in college, so you've been growing this page for about 5 or 6 years. I mean, why was it the MLS that really piqued your interest?
Well, it started with my grandpa, who was he was a big Chelsea supporter back in the day. Chelsea is not my Premier League team, by the way. Every time I'd go over to his house, we would watch soccer all day. So that was my first exposure to soccer, really. I didn't play it as much as everyone else as a kid. I did AYSO and stuff, but not any competitive soccer. But when David Beckham came to the Galaxy, wanted to come see him. So I hopped along with him, and that's kind of where that started. But it wasn't really until like 2013-14 when MLS became like my favorite league. And it actually kind of became it because I went to a sports broadcasting camp when I was 14. And at that time, baseball was my big sport, and the Dodgers were my team. Like, they were my everything. And I go to camp the first day, and I'm wearing a Dodger hat and a gray shirt, or a gray hoodie. And I walk in, and every other kid there, this was in LA, was wearing a Dodger hat and a gray hoodie. And I was like, at first I was like, this is kind of cool. Everyone's like me. But then I realized, wait, everyone's like me here. Like, the competitiveness in me was like, wait, how do I separate myself? And throughout that week I was there, I was talking with everyone about all different types of sports. That's kind of what we did during our lunches and stuff. And I realized I was the only one who like had anything to say about soccer at any given moment. And I was like, you know what? I'm a hop on this. And that's why I created This Week in MLS that next year, in 2015, right before I went back to that camp. So I was like, look what I'm doing now. But I've just loved the sport. I love the league itself because I want it to be the biggest sport in America. And I also love things that grow. And I want to be a part of the growth, which is a big factor as to why I wanted to be in the MLS community, because I want to be part of that growth, but also lifted up with that growth. And I feel like that is kind of what has happened with my page, because since 2015, when I started, MLS has grown an insane amount. In 2015, MLS was, I mean, I hate that stigma, but it definitely was heavily considered a retirement league. But I don't really think you could say that anymore. I feel like we're now like a seller league with young players that are just killing the game in Europe, whether they actually play for the MLS sides or not. The academy products that we're producing are better than ever. And that was a big point I brought up in my MLS versus Liga MX video yesterday, because if you look at the success of the MLS exports compared to the Liga MX exports over the past 5 seasons, US has the dub right there. And that was a big reason why I kind of thought MLS is better than Liga MX now, because it's the receipt for me. That's my receipt. I know a lot of people talk about the CONCACAF Champions League and stuff, and MLS's lack of titles, but at the same time, there's more to it. And obviously the tournament's a little whack in the scheduling and stuff, and it kind of favors Liga MX sides anyways. But
Well, I mean, you look at Europe right now, and Chucky Lozano is basically the only U23, 24 Mexican player on any big club, and the U.S. is blowing up with all these academy products. So I'm with you. I think the U.S. is in a pretty fantastic spot compared to Liga MX right now.
I have a fun stat, actually. So in the past 30 days alone, more U23 Americans have played minutes in the top 5 European leagues than Mexicans in the last 5 years.
That's what it's all about.
There
right
it
there.
is.
And that is that meteoric, growth that you're talking about. The past 5 years is, when this golden age of American soccer players is happening right now. You look at Reggie Cannon leaving FC Dallas and going to Boa Vista, and Brian Reynolds is right behind him and basically has a deal to Roma set up, or, so the rumors say right now. But it's incredible.
Oh, yeah, him as well. And then you talk about Julian Araujo on the Galaxy, another right back. It's funny because we talk about England being the country that has all the best right backs. But low-key, the U.S. is kind of right behind them with that.
Dest. Yeah, I mean, you got Dest, Cannon, Araujo, Reynolds.
You could count DeAndre Yedlin still, even though he's kind of trash.
Yeah. It all started with Yedlin. I still got the Yedlin jersey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, yeah, he's the one that started it all at right back. But there's weird reports of Fabiano Fabrizio. Is that his name? The famous
Fabrizio, yep.
Fabrizio. He said that Italian execs are saying that Ryan Reynolds is the next Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that'd be insane.
I mean, not bad to be compared to the best right back in the world. I mean, I'm a Liverpool supporter in the Premier League, so I'm a little bit biased, but I mean, there's no one better than Trent at his position right now. And if that's what top Italian executives are thinking in such a defensive league, I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week.
No, absolutely. And I don't know, that type of stuff gets me so excited. And the thing is, for the 2022 World Cup, first of all, we got to qualify. And I think we can make a decent run. But 2026 is the year I think the U.S. will win it.
And it's in the U.S.
Yes, it is in the U.S. All the players that are like coming up in Europe right now will be in their absolute primes. They'll be 27, 28, 29 years old. And there will be no better shot for the U.S. Well, hopefully we'll continue to produce these guys. But just looking at what we have now, there will be no better shot for us to win it than in 2026. And we saw what the 1994 World Cup did for American soccer. It created MLS. Imagine what it can do for soccer in America if we have this group of guys at the top of their game in America playing in the World Cup and we potentially winning it. I mean, soccer would have to pass every sport, not every sport, but like they'd have to at least be a top 3 sport by then.
Yeah, it'd
absolutely.
Have to be a huge boost. Yep.
Absolutely. And what's so exciting about that too is, I mean, all these prospects that are coming up right now, a lot of them you've never heard of, and that's just going to continue. The amount of 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds that you never heard of. Brian Reynolds started for 2 months, you know, and now look at where he's going to be playing. So there's guys that you've never heard of, 16-year-olds right now that might be starting on those World Cup teams. So I'm unbelievably excited about the potential there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny about Brian Reynolds because I loosely said after seeing a couple of his matches, like, oh, wow, he could be even better than Reggie Cannon. No way was I thinking he's going to be at Roma next year. And, you know, it excites me. And I'm like, oh, wow, well, yeah, he's a really good player. But I was not expecting that attention so quickly. I will say I do want to take credit for Weston McKenney. I know because back in like 2016, when he was on FC Dallas's academy team, I watched like one academy game and he was a baller. And I'm like, this dude is going to be an absolute baller. Turns out he makes the move to Schalke. It's looking incredible there. Now he's going to be bought by Juventus full time because he's killing it there. I mean, I don't know if you saw, there was a photo of him and Ronaldo was just looking at him with the biggest smile. And I wish my girlfriend would look at me the way Ronaldo. But it was just a very, very dope moment as an American soccer stan to like see a player like that basically getting that praise from the best of the best in the game and wanting him to be his teammate, really.
It's incredible that we have a right back playing behind Messi for Barcelona, and we have Weston McKenney locking down the midfield with more energy than all of their midfielders put together, you know, playing behind Ronaldo. It's really incredible what's going on right now. It really is. Yeah,
I consider Weston McKenney to be Jermaine Jones on crack.
Okay, I like it. I mean,
steroids, a little more family friendly, but a little, I'd say steroids, to be kinder. But no, he's everything Jermaine Jones was, but just so much better.
Everything we wanted Jermaine Jones to be.
Everything we wanted him to be. Because I think Jermaine Jones had some great seasons at Schalke, which is obviously where Weston McKenney played, and that's like a nice little comparison. But like just the grit and grind style, just I'm gonna chase after everything. I'm gonna cover so much ground. It's just that same energy I feel, but just so much more. And I think McKenney's just more talented as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And I wonder, Eli, if I could get your thoughts on, you know, the prospect of all these young American talents going overseas to play, or if, you know, we need more homegrown talents that stay grounded in the U.S. and play in the MLS, and how that affects the growth of the MLS as well as the national team.
Well, the great thing about all the young prospects going to Europe is the teams are going to be making more and more money off it. And that's what's really great, because that's more money going back into the league. What's so different about soccer compared to other sports, maybe like the NBA or the NFL, in soccer it really is the next man up. Because with soccer, the youth system's always going to be flooding in players. And there's always going to be new guys coming up, as you saw with FC Dallas. I mean, that's a great example. Reggie Cannon, Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds was that next man up, and now he's even better. So I don't think it's a bad idea that we keep selling these prospects abroad, especially because they're giving us more name recognition as they're killing it. I mean, Alphonso Davies, FIFA Pro 11. That kid was from the Vancouver Whitecaps, a team that doesn't get any attention here. They're getting attention in Europe because of Alphonso Davies coming from them. And I do think there's a point where the players I think some of the players maybe got to stay a little longer, but that's also on the teams to sign them while they can. Because FC Dallas didn't make any money off Weston McKenney. He left before they signed him to a professional contract. But I still credit FC Dallas with raising him because he spent the time in the academy. But if the teams continue to profit, and the profit's just going to get larger and larger with the more and more guys going, and it all started, really the American prospect started with Pulisic, in this generation, because ever since Pulisic, everyone's like been searching for in America for the next Pulisic. And even then we have the next man up because Gio Reyna's the new Pulisic. He's got the hype that Pulisic had, but even more so.
Better at 18.
Better at 18, exactly. So that's the thing. There's always going to be that next man up, and the national team's never going to stay the same. Sure, in the NBA, the rosters never stay the same, but like you got your guys that are there. Well, not really anymore because NBA is very loyal.
Thanks to LeBron in 2010. You did all this, LeBron.
Exactly. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a diehard Clippers fan. So
all right.
a little interesting time, you know.
Absolutely.
And we think we're not the little brother, we still are the little brother. But
hey, well, it's going to be another exciting season for the Clippers. Yeah. There's no doubt there.
No, at this point, it's like I'm accepting the fact that the Lakers are better than us. But if we could just make a Western Conference Finals, man, I'll be fine. I don't care if we get cheeked by the Lakers and get swept. But if we can just make Western Conference Finals, all will be worth it for me.
You just have to stay off Twitter if you lose in the conference finals. The Lakers, like just like 2 weeks.
Well, I was off for a week. I did not go on any social media really. You did not want. I didn't even leave my dorm room. I was not.
You. Did it hurt seeing Trez swap sides?
No.
I mean,
so
really.
First of all, yes, it did in a way where I'm like, B word. But at the same time, I didn't want the Clippers to re-sign him for the money that he wanted originally, because I don't think he's worth $15 million a season. I know he got a bargain deal with the Lakers, but that's because of Clutch Sports and Rich Paul controls the NBA. But at the same time, I love the idea of having Serge Ibaka more than Montrezl.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way our offense is going to be is 5 guys are going to be spacing the floor, and everyone's just going to be able to pop up, and we're just going to be very hard to defend, and that's going to be great.
Absolutely. Ibaka's a better fit in my opinion. So getting back to soccer a little bit. No
problem. Good. We like to hear that too.
The problem is I would sit here and talk NBA for the next 2 hours if I could. That's the problem.
Yeah.
but we talked a little bit about Liga MX, and there's, still just the constant rumors about an MLS Liga MX merger, and those came back again in the past couple of weeks. Do you see any validity in that? Do you think it could ever happen? I mean, I think it's just way too many teams, way too large of an area, but that's just me. What are your thoughts on that?
I hate it, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people really like it because, like, oh, the competitiveness will be better. But at the same time, I think the trajectory of both leagues are in very different places. And I feel like that would be, and I hate to sound like cocky or anything, but Liga MX trying to, like, stay relevant or, like, cling on to the success of what MLS is doing and the growth of MLS. I think there should be more tournaments with the Mexican MLS, and also we need to get South American teams in tournaments, because I think the CONCACAF Champions League would be better if they expanded it to CONMEBOL and it was just the American Champions League, North and South America. I think it'd be so much better if you had like a quarterfinal with like the Sounders, Tigres, Boca Juniors.
So much fun. River Plate, get them all in there.
River Plate, yeah. That would be so much cooler to me, and I think that would make the Champions League more interesting to watch, but I do understand, like, travel would be a pain in the butt. But
right.
I don't like the idea of the combined league. They'd have to make, like, 3 or 4 divisions out of the teams that they have, because they'd also probably bring in the Liga MX2 or whatever the relegation league is, so those teams would be involved in it. Yes, it sounds great on paper to have like the top 8 teams from both leagues in the same league. But at the same time, the way the leagues are ran are just so different. I mean, the MLS has all the cap rules, the allocation money stuff, and Liga MX doesn't really have that. So it'd be kind of unfair there. They'd have to abolish everything. They just have to change the system way too much. And I think the way MLS is going right now, they really don't want that change. I think Liga MX would want that change more than we would.
Yeah, and the logistics would be a nightmare. You're right there.
imagine traveling from like South Mexico to Montreal.
Oh, yeah, you got a 3-day flight, a couple layovers, you know.
Yeah, and you're right.
It'd be horrible.
They'd have to find something to do with like 60 teams.
Oh yeah.
Be a
Exactly.
mess.
There's already too many teams in MLS as it is. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we just keep adding them. Here comes Austin.
So Eli, with you being from Syracuse, you being from LA anyways, just getting back to more personal touch. How was your experience at Syracuse? You know, that's across the country. It's a completely different environment. So what has Syracuse done for you? What's that experience been like, especially in terms of developing this page and like the communications program there?
yeah. Well, the communication program is, I love it. Newhouse is a great school. It's the reason why I traveled across country to go to school. That was the legit reason I got in there, and I was like, screw it, let's go. Let's move on out. And I've had a great experience there. I've been involved in some stuff, but at the same time, I've been focusing more on my independent brand. Just because that's what kind of separates me from a lot of the students at Newhouse. But the skills that I'm learning at school, I'm applying to the videos. I mean, last spring I took a class, and in that class we learned how to use Premiere. And that's what I use now to edit all my videos. I mean, I started in the quarantine, all these videos, after I had finished that class. So without that class, I probably wouldn't be doing these videos yet or comfortable making the videos. Obviously, you could always learn online and stuff, but that was a very convenient way. But all the classes and the peers and just like creating some sort of network. A while back, I made merch, and I did that with like graphic design majors at Syracuse. It's always about like having a bunch of friends, but using the friends that you have and throwing all of your skills together and creating something with them. And I think that's what's been the best part of my Syracuse experience.
Awesome. And just a couple more MLS questions before we let you go. Don't want to have you on here too long. I know you got things to do, but the MLS Championship, you know, about a week and a half ago now, with Seattle and Columbus. Would you mind talking about that a little bit? I mean, Columbus goes in and dominates the game, and they don't even have two of their starters. You know, it was a dominant performance.
Yeah. So first of all, I will go on the record for saying that I thought no one would ever beat Seattle because I was scared of them. I was very sad about it because I don't really like Seattle very much because their fans could be a little toxic sometimes. Also, I have a friend who hosts a podcast, Next Gen Podcast. He's a huge Sounder fan, and he's so annoying about it. So, like, everyone kind of, all our, like, friend group in the MLS community really wanted them to lose just so he'd shut up. The Columbus Crew, first of all, they came out fighting early. Yes, they didn't have Darlington Nagbe, but Aiden Morris, a youngster, talk about next man up mentality. He comes in, and he looks like he was Darlington Nagbe in the sense of having that confidence to step up. A lot of young players, when they come to MLS, they're very passive at first. The second they receive the ball, immediately looking to get rid of it. But Aiden Morris was taking space in front of him, really checking out his options. He was really aggressive to mark some people or the opponents on the ball. So I was very proud of like how Aiden Morris looked. And then it's the Lucas Rayon show. I mean, in order to succeed in MLS, you have to have a DP10, a strong DP10, and Lucas Rayon, newcomer of the year, shows up in that match. I mean, he was going to be the reason why they would win the MLS Cup, in my opinion, heading into it, and he proved me right. So that's great. I mean, I got pretty much all my other predictions wrong, so that's another thing.
So speaking of DP10s and having to have one to be successful in this league, my New England Revolution get Carles Hill back at the end of the season, and I mean it is just an entirely different team, right? So I was so amped for them. I was hoping for a better run, but I feel a little bit better knowing that we lost to the champions. You know, I take a little bit of relief there.
And you guys were the 8th seed anyways. No one was expecting y'all to make it far, but you guys beat the Supporter Shield champs pretty handedly. I mean, yeah. Philadelphia wasn't in that match the entire time. And shout out to my boy Tejan Buchanan, who But when Heel and Bo are on top of their game, there are very few teams in MLS that can beat the New England Revolution. And Heel is that DP number 10. And you looked at the final 4 teams in the bracket. On the West, you have Emmanuel Reynoso for Minnesota, Nico Ladero for the Sounders. Then you got Heel and Zelarayan on the East. Great DP10s on all the sides. They pretty much help carry their teams. Minnesota would not have gone that far without Emmanuel Reynoso. I mean, you could credit Jordan Morris, Raul Ruidiaz, but Nico Ladero is that man in the middle. And then same thing goes for Heel and Zelarayan.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit more on my Revs, because, I want to get your perspective. Where do you place Henry Kessler as a defender in this league? Because, I mean, he was just absolutely phenomenal from start to finish this year. From the bubble in Orlando to the end of the year, I was remarkably impressed with him. He's a Bruce Arena guy from Virginia. He was phenomenal. I thought he was great all year.
So yes, you bring up my favorite point to talk about in MLS. The MLS Super Draft, because I will go down to my grave fighting for the MLS Super Draft to stay and to exist, because I love the MLS Super Draft. I think NCAA is still a great path to the pro. Whether or not the youth academies are continuing to develop and getting better and better, NCAA should always be an option, because so many players slip through the cracks or want to get their education. Henry Kessler is one of those guys that was just an absolute tank in college. Going to Syracuse, I got to see them play Virginia, which is great. I got to see Daryl Dike play as well. And what annoys me is how they got rid of the Rookie of the Year award.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the league just wanted to give something to Diego Rossi, so they did that. And obviously, Daryl Dike probably would have won it because he scored the goals and stuff. But like Henry Kessler was the most consistent out of the rookies, and he will be a top 10 center back at least next season. I know it's really early still because he only played 1 season, but like if he keeps up his form right now, he's a top 10, and I think he will inch his way into the USMNT picture, because I don't think that the USMNT picture moving forward will just be European based. I mean, sure, that group that was called up in November was really fun to watch, and that was a great roster, but there's always going to be those MLS mainstays that will make the roster. And I do think Henry Kessler will be an MLSer for life guy. He does kind of seem that way for me, which honestly would be great for the Revs, because I don't really see them, as long as Bruce Arena's there, they're not getting rid of Henry Kessler. But he's going to be one of those MLS mainstays that they're going to bring in. You think about a few years ago, obviously there were way more MLS mainstays then, but like a Matt Beasler being called up to the men's national team. And I look at Henry Kessler as one of those guys. I think he could become like a new Chad Marshall for the league, which is a big thing. But Chad Marshall was huge. Henry Kessler's huge. I think Kessler will fill out a bit more. He's still kind of skinny for his height, but he already has such great